The comic murder mystery. Is it a contradiction in terms? Hello and welcome back to my writing journey. I'm Ellen Byerrum, author of The Crime of Fashion Mysteries, Screwball Mysteries, and the soon-to-be issued Crook Tales for Two. First of all, I want to apologize for not being here last week. It sometimes happens that life gets in the way, and the only thing you can do is punch back, and so I'm back today and for the foreseeable future. So thank you for being with me. Today I want to talk about what's funny about murder. And basically nothing is funny about murder. Murder, the real act of murder, is horrible, and it leaves scars for generations to come, and it lives on. However, we're talking about fiction today, and I'm talking about comic murder mysteries. But first, let me say that not every book lends itself to comedy. I have a book called The Woman in the Dollhouse. This is a suspense mystery about a woman who is not sure where she is in space and time, and she's trying to find her identity. Not a laugh riot. Also, The Brief Luminous Flight of the Firefly is my book. It's the prequel to my series. It is set during 1940s in Washington, D.C. during the war. And I believe that the whole feeling of the war, the overarching presence of the war, even though it didn't come to America on our shores, kept the funny business out of it. So it's wonderful, it's psychological, it's a compelling story, but it didn't really let me make a lot of laughs with it. It was simply the times. But mostly I write comic murder mysteries. And while it seems like the humorous mystery is a contradiction in term, we have to remember that people are funny and situations are funny. There are comical things about how we react to death. Relatives can say inadvertently funny things at the funeral. Well, he promised to take me to Paris, and I guess this was his way of getting out of it. Or, he kept complaining that his feet were killing him. Now look where he is. So people can say very funny things, very insensitive things, but it is the thing that pops out when we face death. In our books, criminal masterminds may turn out to be bumbling idiots. The detective may turn out to be Inspector Clouseau, who is prone to pratfalls and completely idiotic deductions. Now, think of a situation where old men are being murdered. Slowly, methodically, one by one. They're simply disappearing off the street. And then we find out they're being dispatched by a couple of old ladies, aunts to one Mortimer Brewster. Yes, they are the Dottie aunts in Arsenic and Old Lace. This play is full of laughs, full of funny moments, and yet at the core of it, we have two women who are killing old men. Why? They believe that they are doing the best work. They're sending them to a better world because they're lonely and they're sad. And why not feed them a little elderberry wine with arsenic and cyanide? Just lovely. And I think there's a pinch of strychnine in there as well. So you have this amazingly funny play about murder. Now, the comedian Carol Burnett has said that comedy is tragedy with time. I think that so many comedians have suffered loss and sadness in their lives, and they employ humor to deal with this sadness in their life and the pain. And I'm wondering, is this why we seldom find very rich people to be funny? I mean, Bill Gates, not a laugh riot. What about Jeff Bezos? He might be a clown in some people's eyes, but he doesn't make us laugh. Many actors are fond of saying, dying is easy. Comedy is hard, and we can apply that to our books. Comedy is not easy to write. It's a fine line that you walk when you deal with comedy. So what is the purpose of humor in a mystery? I'm going to go into this in this video and maybe another one or two after this, because there are many different ways that humor affects a mystery and can be employed in a mystery. And let me just say that these are my own observations. Number one is that comedy can break the tension. We do this in real life as well as in our books. Something goes wrong with a crime. You might have some criminal masterminds who plan a bank job down to the minute and the hour and the lasers in the bank, but nobody told them that the bank moved. They get to the bank and there's nobody there. So then you have a situation that calls for laughs or tears or maybe just revenge. I do have a real life example of some place where laughter cut the tension. My husband was an archaeologist in Durango, Colorado, and he and his fellow Archie went to a bar in the evening to just chill out after a hard day digging rocks and surveying properties. And there was a very, very old man in the bar. And he was just there, and after a while, people noticed that he wasn't moving. Pretty soon, a waiter came over, or maybe it actually was not pretty soon, it was a while. The waiter came over to see how the old man was, and he touched him on the shoulder. The old man fell to the floor. He was dead. Well, what are you going to do? The bar was filling up. They called the police or the sheriff's department, I don't know which one. They came and looked at him. They said, don't touch him, don't let anyone leave. And the cops said, we'll be back later. Well, they didn't say, don't let anybody else into the bar. The man's body was right across the doorway where you walked in. So while no one could leave, many bar patrons kept coming in, and they had to step over the body. So what happened? Well, you know what happened. Pretty soon, the jokes started. The bad jokes, such as, whoa, you could die before you get a drink in this bar. And wow, think this is bad? This drink killed him. So before long, everyone was roaring with laughter because it was a tense situation. What do? And the body is still there. People are still walking in the bar. My husband swears this happened, so you might say, oh, that's not real. It is real. Laughter breaks the tension. You can also be at a funeral. I have heard that caskets go awry. One funeral, the casket was in transport to the grave location at the top of the hill. The brakes went out on the beer, it went flying, the casket went flying. Well, what are you going to do? I think you're going to laugh. Eventually. They could all go in a book because the subject is serious, but the way we deal with it is not. That's what I have for you today, and we'll look at some other reasons for humor in books next week. Bye.